Hello, welcome back to Laura's Plans. So it's been a couple of weeks since I've had a chance to check in, and today I thought I'd do a couple of different things. First, I want to go ahead and show you what's been happening in my bullet journal and my work journal and my work bullet journal and kind of give you an update there. And also do a little bit of an art project while I talk through some of the things that are going on in my head, because it's that season, right? Like, we all start to wonder what we're going to do for 2022. And I know that I'm going to be bullet journaling. I know that that's my happy place. But I also know that my season of life is changing, and I thought that I would be prepared for what was happening. And I am, but I'm also adapting. And whenever that happens, I tend to break out my copy of Writer Carol's bullet journal method. And it's really funny because as I go through it over the last couple years, I've underlined different passages, or certain aspects of the book have struck me harder than others. And in true revisitation fashion, there were aspects of this book that I maybe glanced over, or it didn't strike or hit home the first couple times that I went through it and read it. Because let's be honest, like, when I first started bullet journaling, it was watching Boho Berry and a lot of those first people that kind of hit social media with their bullet journals. And that formed my understanding of what a bullet journal was. And then Writer Carol published the book, because I watched all the videos and I, read the vlogs and not read the vlogs. I read the blogs, watched the vlogs. And I picked up bits and pieces over the years. And then he came out with the book, and I read it the first time, and I thought, okay, yeah, great, perfect. It's working. It's doing what I need it to do. And then over time, it seems like we tend to wane in the application of this methodology. Or at least I do. I don't know if you do. I do. I ebb and wane with what's going on with life. And so I tend to pull it back out, and I tend to reread it, and I tend to put notes in and underline and star and take notes in my journal and things. And so there are a few things that really struck me this time, and I wanted to share them with you. So it's going to be a little different in that, no, I'm not setting up a weekly, I'm not setting up a bullet journal, but I am going to do some aesthetic elements that I'm adding in the middle of the month. It's something I wanted to do. It's a gouache project and a lettering quote page. And while I do that, I thought I'd talk to you about what's going on. So if you're interested in that, I hope you'll stick around. And if not, totally understand. But I will see you on the flip side. All right, so while I'm doing this art project, I thought I would talk to you guys about what's been going on. Basically, this is just a quote page with an art print that I'm going to do that looks very much like this. And it's a gouache technique in which I use natural products. Like, this was a leaf from my front yard this fall that I pressed onto the paper to make the imprint of the leaf. And I'm going to follow that exact same technique in today's artwork and kind of talk to you about what's been happening. So work and life and everything under the sun has been changing. I will tell you, I am, before I get started, I guess I should tell you, I'm using my Arteza gouache paints that I got as a gift from my family at last Christmas from Amazon. And the colors I'm using are basically in line with kind of the colors of this branch that got caught in my hair. and I love it. It comes from a fire bush that I have in the backyard. And I wanted to capture this on the page in very much that same format, but I wanted to add in more color. So one of the things I enjoy most is I sit out on my back porch and I drink my coffee and I do my morning reflection, and the sun is always coming up during that time, and it just makes me happy. So this paint set, you know, is not professional grade, but I'm not a professional artist. So I chose like burnt sienna and Bordeaux red and rose and gray, pearl sage, olive green, and a silver. And basically gouache, for me, I don't know if I use it correctly or not, because I don't know how you're supposed to use gouache, I guess. But it's much like a watercolor in the fact that it's a water base. And this is just a plastic like meat tray that I had extra that has gotten kind of yucky. So now I use it for my paints. So there you go. My brushes come from Amazon. They're not expensive. And basically I just have fun. So in the introduction, I talked about the fact that I think, especially this time of year, we all tend to start thinking about what we're going to do for the upcoming year. And it's really funny because I went back and looked in my journals the other night and realized that it was about this time last year that I pulled out the bullet journal method by Ryder Carroll. And it's really surprising to me how you can come back and reread a book, and there are parts of the book that previously like really struck you, right? Like it resonated with you on a level that you underlined, or you took notes, or you wrote a caption in it. And yes, anyone who keeps their books pristine, that's not me. I write in my books. I underline. I also take notes on a separate page. And I like to do that because I like to come back and look at what my thought process was in prior engagements with that content. So I was looking over some of my thoughts and reading through the book again. And yes, I start with page 1 and I go all the way to the end of the book. And it struck me how there were things in my own bullet journaling practice that I think I had glanced over the times before, or maybe forgot the importance of them, or that I had in my own way, my own adaptation, had forgotten the why. And that's why I like to come back to the bullet journal and come back to these elements, because understanding your own why is important. Understanding why that element is part of the process is important. And one of the things that I realized is that I had once again relegated my bullet journals to a good portion of them to nothing more than task lists and to-dos and aha moments, that I had really lost the intentionality of using this tool to create a system for me to make choices and to take action with, and to align what I'm doing on a daily basis with what I deem as important for my life. And, you know, we all go through phases. I think even I know that Ryder Carroll talks about the fact that your bullet journal will change over time depending on what phase you are in. And he is absolutely right, because if I go back and look at my bullet journal from 2017, oh Lord, is it different? And maybe I will. Maybe I'll break them out and we can take a look at them. Because back then I was heavily influenced by Boho Berry and by a lot of the creators that were on YouTube. And it was before I had really taken the time to study what the bullet journal system was really about. And so things have changed over time, but also my maturity level has changed, and where I'm at in my phase of life is different. I'm no longer tracking, all the different appointments and game times. Well, I'm still tracking game times. Let's be real. I am still tracking game times, but I'm no longer scheduling a life for 3 other people. I'm only having to schedule the things that are important to me and the goals and aspirations that I have. And I'm able to get back to a more personalized interaction with my journal on a daily basis. And I really like that. But it also means that I had to take a look at the structure and decide if it was working. And no one likes to know what they're doing isn't really working. But if I'm being honest, what I was doing really wasn't what I needed to be doing to be living my life intentionally. And if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, or if you maybe watched me on my previous channel, you'll know that intentions are very important to me. Living a life of intention and intentionality is very much something that I strive to do. And yet that practice is not perfect. I set intentions every single morning. I set intentions for my day every single morning. And when I really went back to reflect on what my bullet journal was doing for me, I realized that I really haven't been structuring my days or my time or my life to meet those intentions, that I couldn't answer the question by looking at what I did in a day or what I captured in a day if I had taken action to meet those intentions. And that didn't set well with me. And so I decided to pull out the book, and I reread, and I realized that somewhere along the way, I had forgotten some real key elements. I had given them different, although the vocabulary was the same, I had given them different definitions. And that through that renaming or redefining, I had lost some of the parts of the practice of bullet journaling that drew me there in the first place. And that I had also started putting form over function. I was designing elaborate weeklies and elaborate monthlies and creating lots of neat little lists and trackers, but were they lists and trackers that were actually serving me in the long run? And I had to listen to my inner voice and realize that I was not. I was not living a life of intentionality. I was living a life of one task to the next without ever reflecting and connecting those and making choices based on my goals and intentions of where I want to be in my life and the type of life I want moving forward. And so I'm taking a step back, and I don't consider that to be a failure. I actually consider that to be sage practice in truly trying to gain what I want from life. And so this page that I set up is a little bit about what I discovered through my reflection and about listening to that inner voice that's telling you something's not working quite right. And so here we are. We are in the process of redefining how I'm going to use my system moving forward. While we let this dry, I'm going to talk to you about what's going on. So there's a few things that I'm going to change moving into the last 2 weeks of October. And I'm going to do a reset right now. I'm not going to wait for November to come around in order to reset my practice. I'm going to reset it right now. And the way that I'm doing that is by intentionally choosing to pare things down. When I set up my bullet journal at the beginning of the month, I built these beautifully elaborate weekly spreads. But the reality is, I don't need these. Information is getting lost, and I am stalling my own process by having to decide, where do I put this? And that's not okay. I also realize that I have created a system that is so compartmentalized that I'm not able to easily look back, reflect, and find information. And that's what this whole system is for, is to allow me to capture the chronicalized version of my life with my thoughts, my dreams, my hopes, my actions, my tasks, my wants, my needs. All of that can be done in this system, and it doesn't have to be compartmentalized. The other thing I realized is that I was spending more time worrying about what the daily page looked like in the end than the content or the use of what I was putting on the page. And that's a sobering moment when you realize that you're making choices here that really aren't intentional. They're for the purpose of flipping through and saying, oh, isn't that cute? You know, my eyes aren't drawn to what I wrote. My eyes are drawn to all the other stuff. And does that mean I won't doodle or add some artwork in? No. But what it means is I'm not going to structure a page based on the idea that I have to add artwork and I have to have this and I have to have that. You know what? Why do I track my hydration? I know I drink enough water every day. Why do I track my coffee? I know I have 2 cups. Why am I tracking my sleep, my steps, and my weather? Why am I putting that on every single day? These are things that I don't need to know on a day-to-day basis. Now, my steps and my sleep, I do believe I'm going to track, but having it here on the day-to-day doesn't help me see the pattern. It doesn't provide me true statistical information to be able to make decisions, because in order to see that, I have to start flipping through every single page. So that's something that needs to change. That's something that has to change. And my intent is to change that. The other thing that I realized is that although my almost pre-planning or future logging on the monthly is something that does work for me, most of this monthly is comprised of work items with some personal items spattered in. I also have a work bullet journal where work items, oops, that's my personal journal, sorry. Work items are getting recorded here, and they're getting recorded here, and there's a monthly here, and there's a monthly here, and there's a weekly here, and there's a weekly here. But when I looked at my weekly, most of my weekly, like appointments and tasks and everything else, are generally work related. There are some personal level things on here, of course there are, but it's work related. Even though I tried to segment it out, I wasn't capable of doing it because I need one place to come and see it all. However, that does not mean I don't need this book. But what this book truly needs to be for me is a project notebook. It needs to capture the multiple pages of information that are associated with specific projects. And can I include weeklies? Yes, but they're not necessary. Should I possibly include a monthly overview? Absolutely. Because I can track my deadlines here, and I also feel that it is necessary for me to keep my working Kanban board in here. As far as my communication log, I haven't kept up with it at all this month. Not necessary. My tasks page, haven't kept up with it in here at all. Not necessary, because major tasks that I need to get done generally ended up into this system. But what I don't want to put in here is these project-based notes that are very much a collection of their own and need to be in here, need to be indexed in here, but also need to be indexed in here. And this is getting drier. There's a couple little spots, so we'll come back to it, I promise. One of the things I decided to do was set up content-based indexes because I know this notebook isn't going to last me 6 months. So the first index page, this is my October content. My November content will be the next column. My personal expressive journal, if there are things in it that relate to something that's in this bullet journal, I am capturing the page and I am capturing the content that I put in there. And then the other thing that I've decided to do is go ahead and create a project notebook index. And over the next week, while I'm sitting watching TV, I will take the project notes and capsulated collections that I have in this notebook. And this is going nowhere. I will continue to have a notebook like this, but I'm going to thread them in here and then be able to continue with each volume that I need for project-based work, be able to capture that information in here, because one project alone that I started last week has already used 24 pages. I need that to be in here because that is too much for this. So, but I want to be able to look here to find what I need. Do I have this? Yes, I do. It's either located in here, like a meeting note will be located in here, but project-based planning, structure, framework, note-taking, content evaluation, all of that will be in this project notebook. So I'm going to thread notebooks, which if you're not an indexer, that probably sounds insane. If you are an indexer, you're probably like, okay, yeah, I get that. And that's okay. Not everybody's an indexer, and I know that. So, yeah, so that's where I'm at. So before I continue with the artwork, let me go ahead and show you what I did. I did a reset. I went ahead and set up a monthly calendar log, Writer Carol style, bullet journal style, for the remaining days of October. And I wanted to see if this will work, if I'm being true to form. I also set up a monthly log because things are definitely getting lost in translation, flipping from these weeklies into my dailies, and it's not allowing me to make choices and build my days intentionally. And so I created a monthly log where I listed out, after doing my mental inventory and after doing my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I listed out the things that I know I want to get done in this next month. Long-term goals went into a long-term collection. Short-term goals got mapped out and based in actions that I want to take. A good example is one of the things I really want to do is redo our front yard. We need to clean it up. We need to trim down older trees. We need to get our juniper bush back under control. We have a lot of things we need to do. So I set up a collection for that project. And on here, if you look where I'm talking about the front yard, I went ahead and showed that I migrated that to page 74. And that is also listed in my index and will be threaded for however many pages I need. So I now have one place to put those tasks. I'm not trying to schedule them in on this page. I'm not trying to delineate where everything's going to go. This is just where I'm going to declutter my mind of those things that I know I think of, but I jot them down, maybe here, but migrate them back because it may not be something I take care of on Monday. So I really am going back to the true bullet journal style and building my month, my week, my days based on that to see if I can somehow build back to the point where I feel I have a system that is allowing me to live intentionally and to create the environment that I want to create. So let's get back to artwork, shall we? So this is kind of fun. And it's one of those things where, yes, I'm painting the back of these leaves. And the reason I'm painting the back of the leaves is because the back of the leaf tends to have a lot of that veining so that you can get the impression of it. And I think this is a project I probably did when I was a kid. You know, good old elementary school and all that fun stuff. And I just dripped right onto the page. So I'm going to, oh, that wasn't a good idea. I'm going to try to lift that. I should have just left it because it was a kind of cute little polka dot, but I didn't. So gouache doesn't really lift as well as, say, like watercolor, but I can do something with that. So I'm going to move this off to the side while I paint my leaf. So I'm just kind of playing with color here. I'm picking up different colors and putting it on the leaf just kind of as I see fit. And I'm going to probably do what normal artists would be freaked out about. And I am going to go ahead and pick up multiple colors with my paintbrush and kind of put them in there, because I want the leaf to have some dimension when I put it on. And I'm going to set that little bad boy aside because he fell off. But I'm going to come in and I'm also going to quickly kind of paint the stem, and I need to work a little faster because I'm talking and I am not getting the paint on quick enough so that it's not going to dry on me. So I'm going to use a little more urgency in making this happen. And you can see I am working in with a bunch of different colors and kind of sharing the mixture. I'm not trying to be precious about it because I'll be honest with you, it's so fun. If I could just kind of dip this in straight into the paint, I probably would, which I'm going to do there. And then we'll add him to the composition as we go. Let's hurry and get some more on here. And he's a little dry. He dried out quickly. He was more supple, and I'm calling it a he. Don't know why. This little thing was more supple when I pulled it in yesterday, and I probably should have done this project, but I wanted to record it with you guys. So it is what it is. And yeah, I get paint all over myself and all over everything, and That's okay. That's why I like painting, to be perfectly honest with you. That's why I like painting, because it's messy and it's fun, and I get to play with color and mixed medias and art forms. And I don't know if this is considered abstract or what it is, but it's fun for me. So we're going to put in some more color, just dab, 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 dab all over the place. All right, so this is the fun part. You guys ready? Are you excited? Haha. So now I get to decide where I want to put it, and I'm going to lay it right down there. And then what I'm going to do is carefully go in and press. And I'm not going to worry about making it look real, right? This is abstract. This is what it is. And we have some bits and pieces that are breaking off, and that's okay. And they may not look exactly like it did, but we are able to get the general idea down on the page. And we're gonna lift that. And then I'm gonna take some of these fun little pieces of leaf that fell off, and I'm gonna press them in. And we're going to build. And I'm not gonna worry if something breaks or if something becomes more or less what I intended. And I'm just going to add in where I want. And I'll lift up and make, you know, choices. And then I'm going to come in and kind of use this brush that I mixed all kinds of colors into, and I'm going to take that and add in some of the other colors that I wanted to have show up. And I'm going to dab in my own little leaf structures. And do they look like leaves? No. But in my mind, this is what this looks like for me. And then, give me this. I'm going to come in here and I am going to just thin that out. That's way too thick. I'm going to add in some branch work. And I'm gonna take control of some of these and make them a little bit more defined. And there you go. That is my leaf abstract, I guess, is what you would call it. And I'm going to play with splatter paint. You ready? Let's play with splatter paint, and I want some silvers in there. And I've made such a mess of this that and we're done. And that's it. That is seriously the whole art project. in a nutshell. And I think it looks really cool. If you're trying this for the first time, a few things I would say. Try to get a supple leaf. So maybe one that has just fallen, that's not completely dried out. And maybe pull it the day of that you're going to do it. I let mine dry out, and where I live, we're very dry. So it will definitely change quickly. And, you have to just kind of be willing to take that chance. And I'm just adding a few more leaves. And what did they say? You should stop before you overdo. Yeah, I probably should, but you know, just for my own, I'm going to stop. That's it. So, I would definitely go ahead and make sure that the leaf is soft and pliable. One of the problems and why I feel like maybe this didn't work as well as it did last time was those leaves were cracking and falling apart. But I actually kind of like the play on the light and truthfully, the abstract nature of that branch. Went a little crazy with the splatter, but that's okay. And as you can see, I'm nice and dirty. So much fun. Anyway, so thank you for listening to me. I'd like to know, are any of you also feeling like maybe your system has morphed into something that instead of it assisting you in your journey, you are serving it? Is your journal, is your planner, is your whatever system is that you're in, do you feel like you are able to utilize it to make those choices and intentions and actions that you need? Or are you serving the journal? Is the journal there? Is the system there? Is the bullet journal there? Is the notebook there? Whatever it is you're using, is it serving the function you intended it to serve? I'd really like to know. And I hope you enjoyed this little kindergarten art style lesson. And I would like to know if you guys would like to see more of these, see more of me trying things out in my journal, because that's really what this is. This is me playing, much like a child, in my bullet journal to create and fill that need. But I will say my artwork will now become more confined to areas like this versus the idea that every page had to have some sort of work of art included and that I needed to make them aesthetically just perfect or else they weren't worthy of my time. So anyway, 34 minutes in, I'm not going to edit this because I want you guys to hear it all. And thank you so much for being here. As always, I will see you next time.